minister to you on the topic that I believe that all of us can relate to, and it doesn't matter who you are or what background that you come from or what neighborhood that you grew up in, amen, amen, or what religion that you practice or what color that your skin is or the texture of your hair. It doesn't matter what any of these things mean, where you come from, what you do, what you wear, how you live. All of us has done this one thing. All of us have this one thing in common, and that is all of us have been tempted to not walk in love with someone that has offended you. All of us have fell out of love with someone that hurt you, someone, amen, that abused you, someone that misused you, somebody that didn't give you the time of day, somebody who didn't even call you back when you left a message on their phone. You get hurt. And you stop walking in love with those people. In other words, you stop loving those people simply because they offended you. Am I talking to anybody but myself in here today? See, the enemy's goal is to divide us in order to separate us with the offenses that come to hurt us. And we hold on to those hurts. There are people, there are some of you that are in here today that got hurt years ago, but you're still holding on to the hurt. You're still holding on to the offense. You're hiding behind the fence or the offense of the fence that you build. Jesus says in Matthew that Satan's goal is to turn a warm heart into a cold heart. This is a part of his tactic with offenses. Not sin, but offenses can turn into sin. But if he can get you to hold on to the offense, he can take a warm heart and turn it into a cold heart. This is a part of his tactic. He says, listen, that the heart of them have waxed cold. That word wax simply means now they've been frozen. They become like a statue, and you cannot plant into anything. You cannot sow seed into anything that's too hard to receive it. And this is a part of Satan's tactic. You in church every Sunday. You in Bible study every Tuesday. You in prayer every Friday. You read your scriptures every day. Come on and say something to me. But yet your heart has gone cold because of offenses that you're still holding on, that somebody hurt you, annoyed you, wounded you, or disrespected you. And you're holding on to the fence. And this is a part of Satan's tactic to turn a warm heart into a cold heart. See, offenses is what causes your heart to turn cold against the things and the people you once had a warm place for in your heart, and hate people, amen, and the things that you once loved. Offenses would cause you to betray those people and the things that you once trusted and trusted in. Offenses will cause you to hate the people you used to love and betray the people you once trusted in. Offenses. He says, and many shall be offended and shall betray and shall hate one another. Look at the power of offenses. And he says, in that day and time, it seems like, or even in this time and in this day, because they was dealing with it in his time and his day, and we see that we're still dealing with it in our time in this day. Amen. And so we know that the end is closer to us than it was to them. Amen. But in this day and time, it seems like everybody is being offended over something you can't say. They've been offended of something that you said or something that you did. You can't say anything or do anything without somebody taking offense or getting their feelings hurt. You can't even be joking or playing with somebody without them taking an offense. People that you thought that you can laugh with. It was all right when we cried together, but can't we laugh together without you being offended? It was a joke, don't you get it? Come on, somebody. But we get offended. We get offended because of decisions that people make that you don't agree with. You get offended when people don't give you the attention that you feel like you should get. You get offended. And you end up hating the ones you used to love and betraying the people you used to trust in. Why? Because of the offense. Here Jesus identified a time such as this, a time when we'll hear of wars and rumors of war. Nation shall rise against nation. Kingdom shall rise against kingdom. Church shall rise against churches. Church people shall come against other church people. And famines and pestilence and earthquake shall show up in divers places. And he says that many shall be offended. Many shall be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. Isn't it something that you can have two people that, how many married people do I have in here? Amen. When you or before you married that person, you were madly in love with them. To even ask or pop the question, will you marry me? Because to say, will you marry me is saying, will you spend the rest of your life letting me love you and you love me? But then somewhere along the way, you fall out of love. Somewhere while along the way, you don't even like the one you used to love. Simply because there were offenses. Offenses that you collected through the duration of that relationship. Amen. And now you've carried so many offenses. Deacon Johnny, will you get those boards for me back there? And so I found, and it's just not with married people. It's with people that are friends, people that have been friends for years. And so what the enemy comes to do with offenses is that he wants you to collect enough of them in order to build a barrier and something to divide you from what you once loved and something that you once trusted in. And this is how people look. And these are just a few offenses. And so when people get tired of carrying the offense, they start doing something with the offenses. They start building offense with the offenses. Because the offenses can get tired because you're carrying them everywhere you go. You come to church, you got offenses. You go to work, you got offenses. You go out on a date, you got offenses. You go to your family reunion, you got offenses. You go to the gas station, you got offenses. Come on, somebody. You go to the club, you got to see. You can't stop offenses because offenses are impossible to stop, and offenses are everywhere because wherever there are people, there is the potential for you to be offended. Just settle right here for right now. All of you are carrying offenses. And how many know they get heavy? And the heavier they get, the more annoyed you become. Why? Because you chose to carry them. You chose to hold on to what you are now annoyed by. And so we see here that Jesus says there's going to be such a time. And he says, many shall be offended. Many shall be carrying the offense, but don't know what to do with it. So they start building a barrier, something to where I ain't got to look at you no more. Even though I see you every Sunday, but I got a fence. You're there, but you're on the other side of me. It separates me. You can't get to me. Come on, somebody. I can say hi to you, but only on the other side of my fence. Can I get a witness? Stay with me now, because we're going to tear down the fences, the fence of your offenses that you've been carrying around. But he also says, don't let these things trouble you. Don't let all these things, the rumors of war, the talk of war, don't let the pestilence and the famine and the divers earthquake in every place and those that are the many that will be offended are those that will be the offender. He says, listen, he said, don't let these things trouble you, for they must come to pass. They must happen. They're going to happen. There's nothing you can do to stop them from happening. They're coming and there's nothing you can do. But it's not the end of the world. Some people get offended and they think the world has ended. Some people get offended and now the relationship is over. Come on. Why does the offense have to bring something to an end? Maybe the offense is coming to try to help you to become stronger in certain areas that you know that you're weak in. But you keep covering them up with the hurt. You hurt me. Well, I didn't mean to hurt you, but it didn't come to just hurt you, but to make you stronger from keep getting hurt. Why do you keep letting these little things hurt you? Stay with me now. So here Jesus is speaking of a time when many are going to take offense, a time when people are looking for something to be offended by. I saw that in the church. People are looking for something. If nothing's coming to them, they're looking for something to offend them. Looking for something to be offended by. Looking for something that will pull them away from God and the things of God and their focus off of God. They're looking for an excuse. An excuse. Well, I don't go. I talked to a guy the other day. I was up getting some sunglasses and I was getting, measured for them, everything. And so started having a conversation with the manager. He was taking care of me. And so I said, man, you got any discounts you can give me? And he said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, what's that got to do with my discount? And so he says, well, because we give discount to certain people. You've been in the military? I said, well, it depends on what type of war you're talking about. Am I a soldier? Not in Uncle Sam's army, but I am a soldier. And so what I'm saying is, he said, oh, I know what you are. He said, you a preacher. And I said, it depends on your definition of a preacher. And so we started engaging in the conversation. And so he said, you know what? I don't like preachers. And I said, really? And he said, I don't want you to take it personal. And I'm looking at him like, really? You just tell me you don't like preachers or you don't like me. He said, no. He said, you all right. As far as I can see. And I said, okay, I'll give you that. As far as I can see. How am I doing so far? He said, so far, you're doing all right. And so he said, well, do you want to know why I don't like preachers? And I said, yeah, tell me. And so he begins to tell me, he said, well, when I was young, my mother used to send me to church. And he said, I didn't grow up in the Catholic Church. He said, I grew up in a Holy Rolling, church. They spoke in tongues, they did all this stuff. They laid hands on it. And they were considered to be a non-denominational church. No. He said, Baptist church. He said, what are you? I said, well, we're non-denominational. And he said, well, they all the same. They just got different names. And I said, correct. People are the same. But people worship differently in the different denominations. We all love the same God, but we just choose to do things a little different. And he said, well, I grew up in the Baptist church. And the preacher in my Baptist church abused me. And I said, wow. I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. And he said, yeah, and not only did he abuse me, he abused other young boys too. And I said, you sure you didn't grow up in a Catholic? He said, no, I was Baptist. And I thought, wow. And all I can do was apologize for something that another man done that should have did what I was doing, even though he had abused him, he hurt